Imagine a world where a rebel leader claims to be the lost brother of Jesus Christ, and then leads an enormous movement to overthrow the ruling dynasty and establish a new theocracy based on his very own unique interpretation of Christianity. Well, this really happened. This is the story of the Taiping Rebellion, one of the bloodiest civil wars in history that left millions dead and forever changed the course of China. Join us as we explore the unspeakable things that happened during this dark chapter of Chinese history and discover the incredible story of the man who sparked it all, Hong Xiuquan, the self-proclaimed heavenly king of the Taiping Rebellion. Welcome to Proper History. It's time for some proper history. The Taiping Rebellion was an incredibly complex conflict that began in the southern Chinese province of Guangxi in 1850. The causes of the uprising were rooted in China's long history of economic and social inequality, as well as a series of natural disasters which caused famine and hardships for peasants. At its core, it was a movement focused on restoring equality to all people, regardless of class or status. The rebellion sought to overthrow the ruling Manchu Qing dynasty and establish their own version of paradise on earth. This rebellion would ultimately last over a decade, with extreme violence occurring between both sides, resulting in millions killed or wounded. It is one of the bloodiest civil wars in history and has had long-lasting political and social implications for China. Ultimately, it led to the Qing dynasty being overthrown and paved the way for revolutionary movements such as Sun Yat-sen's Chinese Nationalist Party and later Mao Zedong's Communist Party. It is estimated that between 20 to 30 million people lost their lives during this conflict, a testament to the immense cost of human life. The Taiping Rebellion began with the rise of Hong Xiuquan, a Hakka peasant and failed imperial examination candidate from Guangxi province in southern China. Born in 1814 to a poor family, Hong tried several times to pass the difficult Chinese imperial exam, but was unsuccessful each time. After his fourth attempt, he returned home and became a teacher in his village. Despite his humble beginnings, Hong would soon become one of the most potent leaders in 19th century China. He developed new religious beliefs that mix elements of Christianity and local folk religions into a unique interpretation of divine will. Followers flocked to him from around the region and together formed what became known as the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, setting off one of the deadliest civil wars in history. After multiple attempts to pass the imperial examinations, Hong Xiuquan experienced a complete mental collapse. During this period, he had a series of visions that included a heavenly family. Believing these visions to be divine intervention, he began to write tracts and preach his new faith, Protestant Christianity, mixed with elements of Chinese mythology. His teachings quickly gained support in southern China and formed the basis for rebellion against the Qing dynasty. His belief in his divinity gave him strength and courage, which was instrumental in leading the Taiping Rebellion. The rebellion was the result of widespread dissatisfaction with the ruling Manchu-led Qing dynasty and its policies towards the Han majority population. On that day in 1850, Hong Xiuquan's forces clashed with troops from the Qing army at Jinqin village and emerged victorious. This victory sparked a wave of uprisings across South China as more and more people joined the cause of overthrowing the Qing government. By 1854, millions had rallied to Hong's banner and set out to capture Nanjing, the former capital of the Ming dynasty. It was here that Hong declared himself Heavenly King and established the theocratic state of the Heavenly Kingdom based on his vision of Christianity. The Taiping rebels achieved considerable success during the rebellion. In 1853, the rebels captured Changsha and other major cities in Hunan province, establishing a base of operations there. They then began their advance southwesterly towards Nanjing. Along the way, they gained tens of thousands of supporters, mostly peasants, who were attracted to Hong Xiuquan's Christian teachings. The Taiping took advantage of widespread opposition to the inept and corrupt Qing rulers, and by January 1853, the rebels had surrounded Nanjing. After several weeks of siege, they captured it on March 19, 1853. This victory gave them control over one of China's most important cities at the time and made them a formidable force to be reckoned with. The Taiping would remain in control of Nanjing for the next 11 years, until their defeat in 1864. During this time, they proclaimed a new dynasty and began to impose their own laws upon their citizens. Unfortunately, unspeakable atrocities were committed as well during this period, including mass executions. These acts tarnished the rebellion's legacy and made it clear that, no matter what ideology was involved, extreme violence would always be part of the equation when there is a struggle for power. The capture of Nanjing provided the rebels with much-needed momentum early on in the rebellion. However, it had ultimately become one of the many factors leading to their ultimate undoing. The Taiping Rebellion was plagued by internal conflict almost from its inception. In the early days of the rebellion, the leader and self-proclaimed Heavenly King, Hong Xiuquan, had appointed 4 generals to lead his army: Yang Shouqing, Wei Changhui, Qing Rigong, and Shi Daqi. However, these generals soon became rivals as they sought to gain more power for themselves within the Taiping hierarchy. As their militaristic ambitions increased, so did their feuds with one another. Yang Shouqing and Wei Changhui attempted to undermine each other's authority, while Qi Ringgong and Shi Daqi competed for the loyalty of Hong Xiuquan himself. With tensions rising, the divided Taiping commanders worked to consolidate their own power rather than working together to achieve victory. This internal conflict weakened the Taiping forces and ultimately led to their downfall at the hands of the Qing forces. The brutal nature of this internal rivalry was worsened by an atmosphere of paranoia, which had been encouraged by Hong Xiuquan himself. He had ordered that any suspected traitors were to be executed without mercy, creating a dangerous environment where violence could be inflicted upon anyone who did not conform completely to his vision for a new society. This paranoia and factionalism contributed to the ineffectiveness of the Taiping forces, ultimately leading to their downfall at the hands of the Qing forces. The unspeakable things that happened during this period of time were largely a result of these divisions within the rebel ranks, and serve as a reminder of just how destructive internal strife can be. The Qing dynasty was able to turn the tide of war with the help of foreign military assistance. In particular, Britain and France provided weapons, technical expertise, and money to aid in their reconquest of areas occupied by the Taiping. Crucially, they were also able to recruit a peasant army in Hunan province, which besieged Nanjing between May 1862 and June 1864. Additionally, British forces took part in several battles against the Taiping, as well as provided naval support for Qing sieges of key cities along China's eastern coast. This foreign military assistance greatly boosted Qing morale and helped them defeat the Taiping forces. As a result of this intervention, Chinese sovereignty was kept intact, but at a great cost, as millions died in the conflict. During the Taiping Rebellion, both sides used brutal tactics to achieve their objectives. The Qing forces had no mercy for anyone they suspected of being a sympathizer with the Taiping cause, and there are reports of mass executions in cities that fell under Qing control. Furthermore, entire cities were destroyed by heavy artillery bombardment, which was often done with little regard for civilian life. In Nanjing alone, it is estimated that over 100,000 civilians died as a result of the siege and battle that followed. In some areas, whole villages were razed to the ground and burned by either side as punishment or to deny resources to the enemy. It is clear from these actions that this was an extremely violent conflict where human life meant very little to those in command. The fall of the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom began in May 1862 when Qing forces organized a reconquest of areas occupied by Taiping. Crucial to this was the recruitment of a peasant army in Hunan province, known as the Sha'ang Army. This force besieged the Taiping capital of Nanjing in March 1864 and bombarded it with artillery fire. On July 19th of that year, explosives were used to breach the walls of Nanjing, and the Qing soldiers flooded into the city. After fierce hand-to-hand fighting, they overwhelmed those of the Taiping and embarked on a campaign of looting and burning. Additionally, most of the Taiping leaders were captured and executed. Hong Xiuquan, who had commanded his citizens to eat wild weeds to evade the lack of food during the siege, was found dead in his palace on June 1st, 1864. After days of sickness, it had been reported he poisoned himself by eating some toxic herbs as food became scarce. Thus, with the death of Hong Xiuquan and the fall of Nanjing, the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom officially ended. The price of this war had been extremely high, with an estimated death toll of around 20 to 30 million people. The Taiping Rebellion was an incredibly significant event in Chinese history, and its consequences are still felt today. It began as a peasant and religious uprising, but quickly escalated into a full-blown civil war that would devastate much of the country. Civilians suffer the most, with the biggest impacts being displacement, famine, disease, and mass executions by both sides. The Qing forces eventually emerged victorious, although this was largely due to Western intervention. Despite this victory, the Taiping Rebellion marked an important turning point in Chinese history and highlighted the weakness of imperial control over the country. In addition, it served as a rallying cry for generations of Chinese revolutionaries who were inspired by its ideas of reform and revolution. Today, we remember the Taiping Rebellion and its tragic consequences as a reminder of the importance of understanding our past and using it to shape a better future. What are your views on the Taiping Rebellion? Let us know in the comments below. Also, be sure to check out our other videos for more interesting stories from the past. From ancient civilizations to modern-day events, we have something for everyone. Subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more proper history.